Yo, what it is? This your home with the last son himself. Thank you for pressing play. And today, I'm going to be sharing something really special with you all. Recently, I just did my very first podcast feature for IheartPsychic Radio with the very lovely and talented Tonya Melendez. That was very nerve-wracking at first, just leading up to it. But once I started going, I got comfortable with it. So I don't want to waste your time anymore longer than you have to. I'm not going to play a big introduction about it. So why not let's just get into this right now? All right, let's go.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, beloveds, and welcome to another edition of IheartPsychics Radio Presents Tuned In with Tonya Melendez. We are a lively show filled with inspiring and spiritual information with amazing giveaways, connections, and lessons to be learned about the spiritual life. Today's special guest is none other than the last son himself, Isaiah Robinson, who is an intuitive life coach, motivational speaker, and who speaks the real. So I am so grateful to have someone else on who is a empath, a clairseeing, clairvoyant, clairaudient, and someone who also reads oracle cards and the pendulum. And we haven't had many male guests, so it's nice sometimes to get a male perspective in our spiritual world and see how things are going. And give us a good tune-in, especially for our listeners who are often seeking advice from the male perspective or wanting guidance about relationships. So I'm so grateful. I also want to remind you, please sign up for our gift bag giveaway at IheartPsychics.com so you can be registered and entered into our amazing giveaway gift basket. And if you are seeking any spiritual advice, need some answers, need some clarity, connect with one of our amazing, understanding, and trustworthy spiritual advisors at 855-550-8400. And without further ado, please let me introduce our amazing and special guest, a male clairvoyant. We haven't had any of those on except for, well, I take that back. Last week we had James. But this time we have someone who is homegrown American. So please let me give a warm welcome to Isaiah Robinson. Hi, Isaiah. How are you?
I am
welcome
so
to
great.
the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so blessed to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the first things I'd like to ask you is tell our listeners, who exactly are you? What do you do besides keep it real and help people with become their best selves?
Well, I'm a person that comes from an old school kind of way of thinking. I'm a child from '79, and the way I help people is that I take their emotions, take them to myself, and give it back to them through a thought process that they can relate to. You know, I don't be too wordy. I'm not too using a lot of big words. I'm just giving to you very, very simple. I keep it simply simple for everybody to relate to.
Isaiah, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Please apologize. Yeah, I can hear you now. Let me take a moment.
Okay.
If you could tell our listeners, I just was watching your video on depression a little while ago. Can you speak a little bit about what motivated you to produce that video, and who was the target audience that you were really trying to send that message to? Because I felt it was so heartfelt and also very personal. So I would love if you could speak to that and how you really, who was your target and what was the real message? Because I felt like there was something that really needed to be said, and in a short video sometimes it doesn't come across. So can you speak to that?
Yes, I will. It came from my inspiration for this was myself and my mother. My mother suffered from depression. I have seen her go through different things where she was admitted before from it. And I was diagnosed with depression at the age of 15 until 35. I still have not got myself off of it, like, medically, but myself, I know I'm not depressed anymore. And it came from a personal place, true enough, because I was in a real, real dark place. I was in the bed all the time. I was not sociable. I was very doubting myself. I was not who I wanted to be in life, you know? And when I found my light, I found out who I was, that's when I got out of it. And I'm here to tell people that you're not alone, because it is a very isolating thing in your head that nobody else is going through this but yourself. You're not alone. There's help out there. There's agencies. There's help. There's people that talk to you. And that's why I gave my email address in that video. So people, if you don't want to talk to somebody around you or anything like that, you can email me. I'm not judging anybody any kind of way because I've been there. And just open up to me. I will give you ways and just tools to get out of your darkness and find your own light. That's what I want to find. The people who are in the darkness, who want to come out, who are ready to give it all up, who are ready to stop cutting themselves, who are ready to stop putting a gun to their head, who want to be more sociable, more open to life, and because feel like what it's worth. That's the people I want to reach.
Right. And I at this moment, I would love for you to tell our listeners your email. That way they can contact you and your website information. I want people to, because it's so heartfelt and it's so important that we all embrace each other no matter what's going on. And I also love that you said you don't judge. So can you tell our listeners your email as well as your website so they can find you or your YouTube channel?
Yes, I will. You can email me at thelastson.himself@gmail.com. That's thelastson.himself@gmail.com. And you can find me on YouTube under The Last Son, himself. You can find me on Twitter under the Omegan Child. I just at Omegan Child, OmeganChild. Find me on Facebook, The Last Son himself also. So I'm always open for anybody you want somebody to talk to.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you shared your information like that because, you know, especially for men, it is not easy for you to talk about something that's so personal and so deep. And so by you opening the channel and opening the gateway that way, not only as a family man, as a spiritual man, this is, you know, as a inspirational man. And so I know there has to be something special around your name, the Last Son himself. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Isaiah? Because I'm interested, and you know, I could have asked you that in an email, but I want to hear what was your inspiration behind that name.
I surely will. The Last Son himself. It comes from, like I said before, I come from 79. I'm an 80s baby. And the people from, I want to say 77 to 82, we are the last children to really go off the old knowledge of the old ancestors from our parents from the 40s, 50s, on back. Even our grandparents, this old knowledge, this old way that of just keeping it real with you, no sugarcoating. If you get mad at it, so what? It's the truth. And that's how I am, you know. And we are the last children. I'm not just the last son. We are the last family of this kind of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So you're the last daughter. I'm the last son, last brother, last daughter. But I didn't, himself is just basically giving myself just a name, himself. I'm a guy, himself. And I wanted a more urban feel to it because I'm very much hip hop. If you see my videos, I love it. I'm a truly hip hop head, and so it gave like more of a hip hop feel to it. So more people in the urban sections can know that somebody of their community is out there talking about spirituality. That you don't have to be scared anymore to open up to this. You're not soft. You're just you.
Right. Because it is in the urban community, especially in the multicultural communities, spirituality, um, you know, like you said, depression, astrology,
Mm-hmm.
psychics, all this type of thing is not in place. And, especially in, like you said, the hip hop culture, other than Russell Simmons, who I just applaud for being such a positive role model,
Yes,
for being
yes,
a
yes.
yoga man, for being a meditator, for teaching peace and love and light, I would classify
Right.
you in the same category as
Thank
Russell
you.
Simmons. And
Thank
I
you.
follow him really because I find he is very influential in the hip hop culture, but also
Right.
in the world at large. And
Right.
so I really do applaud you, which is why I wanted to have you on as a guest once I
Thank
got to
you.
see you and feel your energy. And then when I watched the video on depression, I said, wow, this is really deep because, again, coming from a male perspective, I did a Google of all the women or all the depression videos that were out there, and 75% of them were women.
Right.
20, the rest of that, so there's 17% were Caucasian men, and
Mm-hmm.
that leaves maybe 6% of other races and minorities. And so it was such a surprising thing to again address such a deep level thing. So I applaud you for being so inspiring and so cutting edge and keeping it
Thank you.
real and wanting
Thank
to
you.
bring your perspective to the world at large, especially to the young generation who is being bombarded with sexuality
Oh, yes.
and over consumerism, and there's so many things that they're being bombarded with, and the important things about
Mm-hmm.
ourselves is just being thrown to the wayside. I'm looking
Right.
at today, I was reading an article because I do pay attention to Global Grind, which is the Russell Simmons social media blog, and
Mm-hmm.
I happened to come across this story, and I'm this is not in judgment, but 17-year-old Kylie Jenner Kardashian bought a $2.7 million house. She's 17. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have this society of young people who thinks that that is normal. That's not
Right.
normal.
It
She's
really not.
17. She should be at home with her mother. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of the house. And then when I did get out of the house, I was definitely not in a $2.7 million home in a gated
Right.
community in California. I was getting that secondhand furniture, putting pieces together, trying to do the darn thing on my own.
Exactly.
And, over consumerism that is rampant in,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Western culture. Um,
Right.
Here in the European culture, it's still very family oriented, but children, shouldn't say children and kids, young adults today are being given wrong messages, and so I do applaud you again for keeping it real in an
Right.
urban community as well as being an inspiration to young people. Would you say young people are your target audience? And what would you speak about what I just mentioned here about Miss Kylie Jenner and her $2.7 million home?
Thing about Kylie, not only does she have a $2.7 million home, she's dating a grown man, and nobody has stepped in for
Mhm.
that. And that. And I have a 16-year-old daughter. She turned 16 this year. I would, if I were Bruce, I mean, I would choke him. I mean, I would. I would choke the guy because I'm not. I'm being real because I'm
I
just
wanted,
being from a father's
yeah,
perspective. You don't want no grown man to talk to your daughter. Come on.
yeah,
And
yeah.
everybody's just okay
I was
with
going to
it.
skirt around that. Yeah, I was going to try to skirt around that because it's very disturbing to me as well. It's very disturbing to me. She's 17 and he's 25, and now they're trying to say he's 24, but she won't be 18 August. So they've still got
Right.
quite a ways to go before they can But go on, speak on. I was trying not to bring that in because I know it's a very touchy subject.
Yeah, it
So
is for me.
please
And her, if I have a 2.7, no 70-year-old should have a $2.7 million house. She is not legally to have her own money, really. Even if it's legal, her mother should supposed to still be over her money because she's not intelligent enough to handle that much money. You just go out and buy a $2.7 million house? Come on. That's not even cool. You let your daughter do something like that, that's a great big expense. That's a big ticket. That's a huge ticket item to buy.
Right. Yeah. And it's creating this idea that kind of behavior is okay. That's the point that is really
right. And it's sending a message to the kids that they're entitled to things without hard work and without the dedication they have to their skills and what they have. They think they just get a TV show now and just get a $2.7 million house. It's not that easy. You know, it's
right.
not.
And you said there's the thing, entitled. There are
right.
so many people running having this feeling of entitlement. And so keep going. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
But you're right, though. And like I told my sister-in-law the other day, she was like, well, I want a new game. I'm like, have you done your homework? Have you done this? Have you done that? He's like, no, well, you're not getting it. And I said, but you love me. I love you. But I'm not going to give it to you just because I love you. I love you enough to make you work harder, to make you do better in life.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. As parents, we need to love our kids so much to make them work, to old school way of doing things. You go out there and work for what you want, and you get it. And you feel more appreciative of what you have. And that's what's leaving society now. People don't appreciate what they have. They don't feel blessed anymore.
Yes. Preach on. Yes, the blessings are amazing. You know, I graduated high school at 17, and I was a model, and I was also crazy. I was absolutely out of my mind at 17. I thought the world was my oyster, so I can't imagine if I had my own house and, you know, had that type of money, what I could have done, which would have changed my life. But God did put me in the right place, because I have to say, had it not been for me and moving out of my mother's home, deciding I was going to go to college, get my own apartment, then get pregnant, and then get married, my whole life would have been a different set of circumstances. So, you know, God did put me on the right course, because I was going down the wrong street. And so God said, detour, she's got to, you know, let's reel her in. She's got to put in 18 years. And those 18 years that I put in with my daughter have been the best years of my life. And now she's grown up, and she is doing amazing and wonderful things like you. And it just makes me so proud to see such a group of young people doing so good and doing and living a life of truth and faith and of spirit. So tell me a little bit about your spiritual path. How did you get on the spiritual walk and talk? And tell me about your clairvoyance and your clairaudience and all your clairs.
Okay. My spiritual path didn't start until like last year, really. I honestly didn't start till last year. I was still in a bad place. I was still on depression meds and everything. Until, like I said before, enough is enough. And I wasn't never really a religious person in a way. But I'm not anti-religion, because I know the good it can do for people. But was not my thing. And I'm deist, and I believe in creative, but I also believe in spirituality. I always believed in something more in this world, because I always grew up seeing and hearing things as a young boy, till I was a teen, till I was a grown man, and I thought I was just crazy. I don't know what I'm hearing. I don't know what I'm seeing. Why I just see a person just walk past me for no reason and he's gone away? I just threw it out of my head. Why do I hear whispers at night? Just threw it out of my head. And it took me to move to Rhode Island. and I work in a warehouse, and I started feeling more and more energy is coming out everywhere. I'm like, what is going on? Why am I sensing energies and this different kind of sensations around me, and why do I feel like I'm being watched? Turns out, the warehouse I work in, it was a big fire like years ago, like decades years ago, during the whole industrial boom, and somebody died in there, and that's the guy. He was a supervisor. He watches me work all the time, like he's micromanaging, and that really made me do some research. Like, now I found out I was an empath. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, this all resonates with me right now. So I roll with that, and I still do my research. I stopped giving all my clairs the names, the clear audience, the clear sensitive, the clear empath. And now I understand why I hate going to malls with all the different people in there. I hate going to grocery stores. I hate driving because everything just thrown at me. And I had to just realize why I keep hearing whispers at night. I thought it was just in my head. It's actually things just talking to me. I had a couple things happen since I was up here. Like my son, my 6-year-old was in the bathroom. Door was closed, and he come running out the bathroom, hysterical. He was like, "Somebody turn the light off on me." I'm like, "Nobody turned the light off on you, friend." He said, "Yes, it is. Somebody turned the light off." He was shaking. Then it clicked in my head like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Oh wow, somebody's in the house." So I had to go in and get rid of it. I talked to the spirit. Told him, "Look, he's not ready to talk to you right now. You see, he's scared." So I asked him to leave. I say you sit out, put some salt down, and I talk to him every night. He still have. I think it's my father actually. I really my dad loved to play pranks on people. He was that kind of guy, and I just told him that he's not ready right now because he's a very sensitive boy. He really is. And
wow.
And this my spiritual and since I stripped myself of religion, that's when everything just blossomed for me. Like some people find religion, everything blossomed. Mine was in a different way. And no two empaths and no two meters, no two psychics are the same, which is very, very true.
Right.
And to find out that I'm like this after years of thinking these people are nuts. Nobody's seen them like this.
No, I understand.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm really talking about myself. And it's very, very awakening to see more people like this and more people are open to it, but also disheartening to see that more men are not open to it.
No, right. No, I understand.
And so that's my spiritual
wow, that's
path.
such a great story.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, is your father's name start with an F?
An F?
Yes.
No, I got a great-grandfather named Fred Ford.
Okay, no wonder, because I kept getting this strong F, F, F when you were talking about it. So it might be your great-grandfather. It might be him, too, that is visiting you, because I got a very strong F, F, and it was like F, F, F. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask. I love you shared that about your son. So let me ask you, when is your son's birthday? When's your son's birthday? Because maybe he's an empath as well.
His birthday is actually on 7/11.
Oh, wow. Of course then he is, because he's a Cancer. I'm a Cancer. I'm July 22nd. So me and him are kids. Wow. So he is an empath. He's awesome.
And he was born at 11:07. I remember that he was born on 7/11 at 11:07.
Wow. So I'm so glad that, the universe brought him and you together so you could teach him, so he could teach his children, and so on and so on. That is so fascinating. I'm so happy that you shared that, because it's important also that we do try to reach the children, because I remember growing up and having the same thing. People I told my grandma and my mother, and they thought I was crazy. They're like, oh, she's making up stories again. And I would spend hours and hours in nature as well as in the library, always looking at books and talking to
Right.
animals and crystals and rocks, and because I was better off by myself than telling people that I was talking to other people because nobody believed me. They thought I was making it up. So
Right.
I get it. I totally get
Right.
it. Can I ask you, when is your birthday, Mr. Robinson?
My birthday is March 12th.
March 12th. Okay, so
Right.
that makes you Pisces.
Yes, it does.
Oh, so you're super sensitive as well. No wonder you feel so deeply. You're probably just as sensitive as so does the moon affect you? Because as it can, it definitely affects me so deeply sometimes that even the week before I'm already feeling it. Like I'm feeling it now.
Right. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I feel. I never paid attention to it till now, but I see a full moon, I just drawn to it, and just the whole moon for a water sign and water just go together.
And that was probably one of the reasons you had to move to Rhode Island, so you could be near the water because
Right.
you need the water just as much. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Right.
one of the reasons that I live, I'm so grateful that in my mind, for years and years, Isaiah, I said I wanted to live near the Mediterranean Ocean. And
Mm.
God said I was ready. So here I am living next to the Mediterranean Ocean. And so it is so good to be near the water because it is such a cleanser, such a healer, especially during the moon time. So what else can you tell our listeners about what you offer? And can you please also repeat your website or your YouTube channel and your email in case any of our listeners want to get in touch with you or pass on your information before we take a little commercial break?
Oh, yes. What I offer is basically a lot of emotional healing, one-on-one counseling. I use my pendulum and my cards to help with that because it go off my intuition. So you can always reach me at thelastson.himself@gmail.com. You can find me on YouTube under The Last Son, himself. Find me on Twitter at Omegan Child. And you can find me on Facebook, The Last Son himself.